Dankie dat jy ingeskakel is. Ek gesels vanoggend met Dr. Mpumelelo Mkhabela en hy is 'n politieke analis en ons praat 'n bietjie beleid. Dr. Welcome to Grootplaas.
Thank you for having me.
I love the title. It's very professional, and I think when we talk about a heavy subject like policies and policy in agriculture, you need to speak to somebody who knows. So thank you for making the time to spend time with us.
Thank you.
So let's start off. Obviously, we can't start this conversation without acknowledging that there are some challenges when it comes to agriculture and also from a policy perspective. Enlighten us.
I think at the moment, the biggest challenge in agriculture is land reform.
Yes.
And land reform in South Africa has gone through so many stages, land restitution, redistribution, and all of that. And there's been a lot of challenges in terms of executing access to land for emerging farmers, mostly black farmers. Some of the policies of the government have been hamstrung by corruption. We know how in the past the land bank was looted by people who really didn't care about all of the transformation projects of the government.
Yes.
We also know that some of the policies of the government, however progressive and correct, were also hobbled by lack of implementation. So much so that government over the years had missed its target to redistribute land to the people that needed it as part of meeting its transformation target.
Yes.
So recently what happened as part of fast-tracking that, parliamentarians debated whether or not Section 25 of the Constitution should be changed to allow for expropriation of land without compensation.
Yes.
That policy failed dismally in Parliament. It was defeated, and I think it correctly failed because it was quite irrational in a sense that the other policies that are there that could fulfill the same goal had not been exhausted and had not been implemented, and had been implemented improperly in some cases without monitoring. So we don't know how far we had gone had there been goodwill in implementing the other existing policies. So that Section 25 amendment failed in Parliament because it required 2/3 majority. The ANC and the EFF couldn't sustain that.
Yes.
So now, but there was another parallel process in Parliament that was happening, which was to amend the Expropriation Act, which is a separate piece of legislation.
Yes.
It already allows expropriation of land for public purpose or in the public interest. For example, if you want to build a school, you can expropriate land.
Yes.
Or if you want to put ESCOM lines,
yes,
that's a public purpose function. You can expropriate the land for that purpose. So that amendment was effected by the National Assembly in Parliament, but it hadn't gone past the NCOP. So the NCOP still has to do consultations before it goes to the President for signature.
Yes.
So the former Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, Patricia de Lille, was driving that. So I think that there was an attempt to get around this Section 25 amendment by using that act and modernizing it, because as it stands, it's an act of 1970-something. So it has to be modernized to suit the new dispensation.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening from a legislative policy point of view on land reform, broadly speaking.
Yeah. If we look at, obviously, policy is almost like the center of everything. It's like the rules and what you can do and can't do and so and so. And if we look at the role that policy plays specifically in agriculture, how do you think that's going in South Africa?
Policy instruments are quite interesting to look at because they can enable things to happen. They can stimulate innovation.
Yeah.
They can also be used to regulate players in the market, in the agricultural space, for safety reasons. For example, food safety, regulate marketing strategies. They can also open access to markets. You can have trade policies that are enabling towards that. You can also have policies that enable more players to come into agriculture and stimulate competition. There's also competition policies in agriculture. I see the Competition Commission is busy with some investigation now about food prices. So all of those things speak to a policy. Policies can also be used to actually encourage financial institutions to lend more money to agri players to enter the market to expand production.
Yes.
You can also influence state-owned development finance institutions to actually influence funding agriculture. The Land Bank being one of them, the IEDC being another. It's quite impressive looking at the Land Bank since the new chairperson was appointed, Tabin Kosi. There's been a turnaround in the Land Bank, trying to professionalize it, trying to strengthen its governance systems. And more importantly, they've taken the resolution to actually extend finance to emerging farmers, which is quite important, while strengthening their governance and their collection mechanism. So that's quite cool. So you can do a lot with policies.
Yes.
And but agri players can also influence policies. They can also lobby the government towards the right policy. I know there's been a lot of partnerships with the President Ramaphosa and big agri players who are participating in new initiatives to encourage land reform. Like, no, don't wait for government to legislate. You can also do partnerships with emerging farmers and the big farmers, and the government can actually underwrite that and encourage people to share skills transfer, share farming methods, and all of that. So you can achieve a lot through policy instruments.
What would you tell somebody who says, no, but certain policies in, let's say, South African agriculture, it's more like barriers. It's more like it stops us to grow. I mean, how do you see that? Do you think that is a thing?
Unfortunately, there are policies like that. The one that's currently concerning for all agri players, big or small, is the issue around logistics. Most agri players will tell you how difficult it is to rail product to port. So our rail infrastructure has not kept up to speed with the requirements of the industry. Similarly, the ports also, there have been difficulties. So some of the citrus growers have been in conversation with Transnet to try to unlock that. So the new policy initiative on the part of the government now to unlock logistics is to bring third-party investors to invest in logistics, in the rail network and also in the ports.
Okay.
But what I haven't seen, perhaps I have missed it, and I think it's something which should happen, is that agri players should get involved as well as being party to the logistics chain. Because I think gone are the days when they would simply say, listen, we are the clients of Transnet, which is a state-owned rail monopoly. We will simply buy slots to get our goods to the market.
Those days are gone.
They now have an interest in actually the functioning of Transnet, and they must actually partner with Transnet, help Transnet to actually move the goods. I get involved also in some mining projects on the other side. I also know that the mining guys are also concerned about that. So, and mining and agriculture are the backbone of South Africa's economy. If you can't have these two functioning, you're going to have problems. So, agri players should get involved in how the logistics policies can shape or enable agriculture.
I think you're the right person to ask. We've all got an ideal picture of how things should work according to our knowledge, and everybody's got a different picture. According to you, what more should be done when it comes to policy in South African agriculture, in the sector? What more can be done to take us forward?
You see, we spoke earlier about how policy instruments can be used. I think what needs to happen is that we need to set the right incentives to enable agriculture to grow and thrive and employ more people. Because the biggest issue in South Africa now, across all sectors, is employment.
It is.
And employment can only be driven through growth. You can't artificially just decree that there must be jobs. It doesn't work like that. But sometimes politicians think
that's how it works. It's not.
So you have to have growth. You have to have current farming enterprises expanding production. You have to have entrepreneurs investing more in commercial agriculture, big-scale agriculture, to ensure not just job creation, but also food security for the country. So what kind of incentives do you employ to do that? So you need incentives around getting the right people who are committed to agriculture to get the funding. there is a lot that the provinces are doing to try to fund micro and small scale farmers, so and all of that. But I also think that there are some farmers that cannot be consigned to being small or emerging. They need to reach the level of, or the threshold of being big commercial farmers.
Yes.
So you need the right incentives to enable the right people to actually enter the space. We also need policies that can encourage, skilling in the agri sector.
Like skills development.
Yeah, we're in a conference here where we're talking about like smart agriculture, technology, precision farming, and all of that. So even the young or emerging farmers need to be skilled in these new technologies that they can adapt for productivity, for safety, safe production, and also to be able to take a product to market, and also to enable access to export markets. That's where we earn our foreign currency.
Yes.
That's where we get our money. That's where our trade balance is able to, to balance properly, and our economy is in good shape. So agriculture, it's important to incentivize.
Yes.
It's one of the sectors you can actually use to fight what might be creeping recession in the broader economy in South Africa. So we have to be very careful about things like that.
When we look at, and we're almost ending, when we look at agriculture in the broader sense, and we've got our mega farmers, we've got big commercial farmers, and so. Do you think that we are moving in the right direction in getting the smaller, the more informal farmers into the value chain? Do you think enough is being done on that sense?
I don't think we're doing enough. I think if we had good productivity rates and we had a lot of competition, we had more players in the agri sector, perhaps food inflation wouldn't be that high.
I hear you.
And secondly, I think we would be fighting much better if we had more productivity in the export sector. So there's a lot of opportunities, and I think our government can also do better in opening up markets. And I see that the Chinese market would be actually very good to get, for example, our meat products.
Yes.
There, it's a very, very, very good market. But we also need to learn to box clever in some of these markets.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, you would read stories about like how our products in Spain sometimes get blocked by on some flimsy
random something.
So you find some non-tariff barriers that get imposed on us. For example, they will start some story that maybe our grapes or something is not safe. But whereas the real issue is that they're trying to protect their market from competition. So our products can be competitive sometimes. So we need to learn to box cleverly in opening up markets and also securing our export markets, those that already exist, while boosting our productivity in South Africa, incentivizing the right people to get involved in farming.
I love to box cleverly. I love that so much. Thank you for your time and your knowledge. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.